The time is now 5:30. We'll call this meeting to order. All rise for the flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence to remember the service and sacrifices of the armed service members who protect our nation and the first responders who protect our neighborhoods. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn. Councilmember Friedlander.
Here.
Councilmember Puzio.
Here.
Councilmember Palumbo.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Sackett. Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Vice President Abrahamson.
Here.
President Jedinack.
Here.
This special meeting was called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. Notices of this meeting were sent to the official newspapers, the Daily Record, and the Star Ledger on September 18th, 2018. In addition, copies of the notices were posted on the official bulletin board in the municipal building and filed in the office of the municipal clerk on aforementioned date.
The next item on the agenda is the designation of the Sergeant at Arms. Township Code 2-5.15 decorum. While the council is in session, the members shall preserve order and decorum. The council president, at his or her discretion, shall direct the chief of police or such other person in the police department as he may designate to be the sergeant of arms at the council meeting. The sergeant at arms shall employ reasonable means to maintain the proper order and decorum consistent with accepted standards. I don't see the chief. Would one of the officers in the room identify themselves if they are serving as the sergeant at arms today?
Lieutenant Paul Riley.
Okay, thank you. Lieutenant Paul Riley is our sergeant at arms at this evening's meeting. Before we continue with the rest of the agenda, first I'd like to thank Mr. Doug Ave, who's in the back today with his camera, providing us with the closed circuit services and recording. My apologies for my scheduling error on Monday that caused this special meeting to temporarily be scheduled for yesterday, an important religious holiday. Back in December, I coordinated the entire year of regular meetings with Councilman Sackett to avoid the scheduling of meetings on religious holidays. As this was a special meeting, I should have checked the calendar once more for this new date. My immediate focus was on ensuring that the township would have appropriate legal representation in advance of litigation that was ultimately filed today. A good thing about schedules is that they can be changed. I corrected my error the same day that it was made. I want to thank everyone who was patient and understanding of my scheduling error under the circumstances, including Rabbis Baumgarten, Popke, and Rudin, who offered their assistance and helped me to get the word out to their congregants once the schedule was corrected. I also appreciate their offers to be a resource for me in future scheduling. The next item on the agenda is, we have a nomination by Mayor Menendez for Vijay Parwar to represent the township in the litigation that was filed today. We have Resolution R-18-168, Resolution of Township Council of the Township of Rockaway, Morris County, New Jersey, retaining special counsel. I will move this resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Abrahamson. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Friedlander.
No.
Councilmember Puzio.
No.
Councilmember Palumbo.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, motion carries with 5 yes votes. We will now go to Resolution R-18-167, which is closed session to discuss the litigation that was filed. I will move that, and seconded by Abrahamson, and upon voting on that, the council will recess to the conference rooms for that closed session. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Freelander?
No.
Councilmember Puzzio?
No.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, and we are now recessed to go into closed session in the conference room. No.
I hope they don't sneak down the back.
People waiting out back, so we can drive that way.
Slip out the back.
We estimate the time to be a half an hour to 45 minutes, but we can't be sure.
Do it at the end of the meeting, not now. Go live in 3.
We were conflicted out of the council chambers. I'm not going to get into the reasons why. It's unfortunate. I feel that it was improper. I feel that we represent the people as well as the other councilmen. I happen to be in the minority with my 4 constituents up there on the dais, my 4 colleagues. It's really not about politics for me right now, John. It's about fair representation for the public, for the citizens. We can all have philosophical differences as to what's important, what we want to prioritize in the town. And that's not an issue. It never has been with me. I've been involved in the town for many years. The problem lies in the fact that it's the treatment. It's just, it has nothing to do with partisanship, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. It has to do with the treatment of the public. People are being gavelled off if their opinion is not popular with the council majority, with the council leadership, is really the focus of this. People are gavelled off, their time is limited. I'm an elected official. I think that I should be able to speak and be able to express my views and be able to collaborate while I'm up there on the dais with other council people. But we're shut down. We're not allowed to do the job that we were elected to do. If your opinion is not favorable, you're not allowed to talk. You're gavelled down. You're dismissed. You're marginalized. And that's what this is really all about. It has nothing to do with philosophical differences. It's about being treated properly. It's about the public being treated properly. And it's about transparency. Mr. Jedenak claimed that he wanted more transparency. He has been the least transparent person that I have ever worked with in my life. Ever. He is not giving the public accurate information. He's omitting items. He's excluding items. And it's just not right, John. So I want to thank you for being here to cover our council meeting and bring the public together. And we may be the majority, we may be the minority up on the dais, but we're the majority with the public, and that's what counts. The public sees what's going on and that they see what's right and wrong. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to discuss? How long has this been going on for?
I've been on council for almost 3 years, come December, and prior to this, it was never like this. It was a collaborative work product that was produced by the council president. It was inclusive. It was collaborative. There was go back and forth. We could go back and forth. We could talk. We could discuss. And it was never like this. The public would was allowed to ask questions. They were allowed to speak. If you went over your time limit by a minute or two, it was not a big deal. You weren't gabbled off. The best advice I can give to anybody, including yourself, is go take a look at the videotapes, the unedited videotapes, and that shows all.
Yes, I did watch one of these highlights of this agenda. To pound the gavel down on the table, similar to a metronome. Have you observed this many times?
I have dreams, nightmares about it. It's unbelievable, and that's where the problem lies. I actually got a little out of hand at one of the meetings a while back because I was just so disgusted at the treatment of myself and some of the other people in the audience. It's problematic, John. It's problematic, and it's on video. You can see it. You don't have to believe what I'm saying. People in the public have come to me and are like, it can't be this bad. It cannot be this bad. And go watch the videos on YouTube. And there are people out there that don't agree with things that I want to do in town, but they certainly agree with that we're being treated poorly.
Just at the recent council meeting, Friday, 10:30 start, I saw you attempting to argue a fair point to the council president to continue to shut you down time and time again, screaming over you.
Absolutely. And you know what the funny part of that is? I try to be respectful. Prior to the meeting, I went to the acting council president and explained to her that I would like to read something into the minutes. And I also sent it to her about 2 hours prior. I sent her an email as to what statement I wanted to read into the minutes was. I think that's fair. I told her that I didn't want to have any surprises and that I thought it would help the meeting run smoother. And that I'm entitled to as a sitting councilman, as an elected official, just like the other 8 people up there, that I'm entitled to voice my opinion and represent the public. And you saw what happened. It was shut down. Go to the videotape, right? Thank you. Thank you for coming and covering everything. Thank you. A+, Mike.
Yeah, great job.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
The time is 6:19 p.m. and we are back in open session. Next on the agenda, we have open to the public. Ordinance 2-5.14 requires that any comments or questions made during the public portion of the council meeting must be addressed to the council as a whole and not to any individual council member. The failure to comply with this ordinance may result in the termination of any further opportunity to address the council at that session. First on the list is Pat Degnan. Please state your name and address for the record.
Pat Degnan, 88 Valley View Drive. I thought there might be a possibility that I wouldn't be able to read this statement, but I'm glad you came back in time for me to read it because I have another meeting to go to. In order to run an organization properly, special meetings are not held on a regular basis, and some of this council seem to think. You have alienated many members of this community, one which I regarded very highly and until recently never even thought of leaving. I have attended many council meetings beginning when my family arrived in Rockaway Township on March 7th, 1970. I have seen various council members argue their point and many times convince their opposing council members that the point they were trying to make was right for the residents of Rockaway Township. Now some of our council representatives are not even allowed to speak because they disagree with the majority. Some on this council cannot see past their personal agendas, and this is the reason for the divide in this community. Not the people trying to exercise their rights as citizens of Rockaway Township. And if you think bullying is the way to get us to come around to your way of thinking, you are totally wrong. It only energizes us. I have never considered myself a political activist, but you have turned me into one. I have always exercised my right to vote and contribute to my community as a volunteer, beginning with my involvement in the Head Start program, which in 1974 was part of the Community Action Committee, as this was the only program available to preschool children with disabilities at that time. And I had a child with a disability. This was when the school district, the township, and the public worked together to make this township the great place. This is how and why Mayor Michael Dotcherson lived his whole political career, and I would like to be half the person he was.
Thank you for your comment. Next on the list is Dave Press. Please state your name and address for the record.
Dave Press, 71 Oakland Avenue. When you run for office, you want to galvanize the people. Well, you've certainly galvanized the people. You've galvanized the people right into the recall campaign. That would be the ongoing recall campaign, which has galvanized us across party lines. Yes, that's right. Republicans, Democrats, and those among us who are unaffiliated are galvanized. When you intentionally schedule a meeting on Yom Kippur, you galvanize the people. When you lied about your reason for doing this, you galvanize the people. When you not only lied to every resident of Rockaway Township, but lied to 3 rabbis, you galvanize the people. For centuries around the world, people have fought over their differences, but not here in our beloved Rockaway Township. No, you've accomplished something that the United Nations couldn't do. You've now managed to galvanize us across lines of religious beliefs. It's time that you... It's time that you all pack your political bags and resign. And by the way, I hope the 5 of you have plenty of money in the bank to pay your legal fees when our insurance carrier once and for all denies coverage for everything you've done.
Thank you for your comment. Next on the list is Lisa Miller. Please state your name and address for the record. Lisa Miller.
Lisa Miller, 455 Mount Hope Road. I want to take this opportunity to thank you. Yeah, that's right. I want to thank you. Because of all your poor choices over the past couple weeks, I've had the opportunity to meet more people that live in my town. I've gone to see them come together in a crisis, and I've learned more about town government than I ever wanted to know. So again, I thank you for that. I read your memo today, Mr. Jedniak, and I read Mrs. Abrahamson's statement on her Facebook page about healing our town and coming together. Those are beautiful thoughts. Do you all realize that too much damage is done? Do you realize that the people have turned against you? Do you realize we do not believe that what you are pushing? Do you realize that we are tired of being lied to and deceived? Do you realize we are tired of being called names? Do you realize that more and more people every day are reaching out to find out how they can put a stop to this madness? Let's be real here. The only way this town can heal is when this council changes. The only way our town will move forward is when you guys are gone. Whether it be through recalls, or hopefully resignations, or just going to the polls when the time comes. The tide will come, and it'll wash away this madness, and you will be nothing but a bad memory. And we will heal, and we will move forward. Why? Because these are our meetings, and this is our town, and we're gonna fight for it.
Thank you for your comment. Next on the list is Rebecca.
Rebecca Wickham, 3 Darlington Drive. Few definitions of words, just so you fully understand what I'm saying. Dictator, typically one who has taken power by force. Tyrant, a cruel and oppressive ruler. Arrogance, having an exaggerated sense of one's own importance or abilities. Ineptitude, lack of skill or ability. Persona non grata, an unacceptable or unwelcome person. Once again, you call a special meeting and then conduct your business in secret behind closed doors. Tonight, we have to come witness you try to get yourselves out of a mess of your own making. This legal situation is one you made. You created this, not us. You've called illegal meetings, had no quorums, scheduled on religious holidays, late at night, just to inconvenience the people who are holding you accountable. You had 30 days to name an interim mayor, but you just had to run around with your inflated ego of being the mayor and making power-grabbing plays. You left it to the last minute, and the joke will be on you. The 10:30 p.m. meeting on September 14th will probably be deemed illegal, and all the crap you've pulled will be undone. And now, because of your arrogance and ineptitude, you now face litigation, for which you are now making us, the Rockaway Township residents, pay for. I am hoping the town has legal recourse to demand repayment for your stupidity. Rockaway Township is not your personal piggy bank. For people who wanted transparency, you have hidden behind closed doors, made secret deals, and hired an attorney who is persona non grata, not only in Rockaway, but other towns. Because of your actions, our town is a mess. We are the laughing stock of the state and referred to by some as Rockaway Clownship. You have corrupted yourselves with your imaginary power. You act like tyrants doing whatever you want, regardless of the will of the people you were elected to serve, not rule. You are running scared, and you should be, but no one wants to do you physical harm. But you pull in police all the time at meetings, 20, 10. You demand protection at a pep rally where there's children, like someone's going to attack you. But mark my words, you will be done soon. Your dictatorship is coming to an end. We will not be drinking the Kool-Aid you hand out anymore. Keep calm and recall on.
Thank you for your comments. Next on the list is Casey Gray.
I'd like to submit this into the court. It's what I'm going to be reading. May I?
You can hand it right here.
Oh.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My trepidation is obvious. I urge the four on the council to call for a timeout where you go to your meetings like they just had one, and urge the other five to resign and resign tonight. It is not enough to wait for this recall. The recall is not fast enough. The last meeting has left us with an illegal mayor and an illegal lawyer. I am going to read Mayor's communication on the state of affairs in Rockaway Township that was put out 8 days prior to the stress-induced heart attack that he had. Welcome, and if you'd like to hold up Mayor Mike's signs, that would be very nice. This needs to get into the record. Our town has been full of bullies. We are facing a lawsuit right now that we have not been able to address regarding what's happened in our middle school. I've tried to bring it up since January multiple times. The anniversary came and went. So if I don't finish this, please, somebody on the list, finish the rest of it. It needs to get read into the record. We all need to be on the record with Mayor Mike's last words. Mayor's communication on the state of affairs in Rockaway Township. Welcome to my first State of Affairs message. As mayor of Rockaway Township, I find myself in the awkward position of apologizing to all residents, employees, and professionals who presently share their skills and talents to keep Rockaway Township running effectively. The state of our governing body is unfortunate, unreasonable, and non-productive, and I would be the first to admit it. As I am sure most are aware, we have a new council majority to include Jeremy Jednak, Patricia Abramson, Tucker Kelly, Vic Palumba, and Phyllis Smith. I find it disheartening that rather than work to serve the people of the township, they are determined to fulfill their individual political agendas, regardless of the cost or effect it had on this township. It has on this township. Our new council majority. When the newly elected majority took office in January, the previous levels of professionalism and cooperation within the governing body quickly diminished until it ceased to exist at all. Council President Jednak has turned our governing body into his personal realm. Under this new council environment, it makes communication, cooperation, and compromise just about impossible. The matters we are facing are no longer political differences. It is not about one party or principle. It's about how to manage the business of the town. Instead, it is an environment of personal attacks, policies of exclusion, political patronage, disingenuous information going from meeting to meeting, and a disrespect of our citizens, and the behavior continues to devolve each meeting. Residents ejected at meetings, more police presence. Our residents are no longer permitted to show their opinion or of dissatisfaction at meetings. Residents who watch the antics in real time, who may let out the slightest groan or any other indication of displeasure, will result in expulsion. The council chamber by Mr. Jednak's Sergeant-at-Arms. Despite cutting 3 police officers' positions from our 2018 budget, Council President Jednak, along with the council majority, implemented a Sergeant-at-Arms which had not previously existed, nor to my recollection has not been officially filled in any other of the 38 municipalities in Morris County. The township never had the need for regular police presence during council meetings until Councilman Kelly, before he was elected, assaulted me before a meeting by headbutting me and licking my face, for which he was charged and convicted. Many residents have told me they feel the change in the use of the Sergeant-at-Arms is creating a hostile environment in which citizens feel intimidated to share their opinions. This practice also puts our police officers in a precarious position of violating a citizen's First Amendment's rights if Mr. Jednak directs the officer to remove them. Council's criminal allegations. In view of this unrelenting and abhorrent conduct, I was forced to file an action in Superior Court as town business was not proceeding as necessary, along with the council trying to prevent me from performing my duties as your mayor. The council majority has erroneously insisted that my action was primarily to stop a council committee's criminal investigation of our township attorney and our former administrator.
Expired. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Next on the list is Katie Platt. Please state your name and address for the record. If you're not going to come up here, Ms. Platts, your time is going to be expired.
I didn't hear you, sir.
Okay.
Oh, my God. Run, Katie, run.
You know one thing, Mr. Clark.
You want to talk about him again for 20 minutes?
Kathleen Theuer, Tuville Holloway, congratulations. You just spent $950,000 of our money since May on legal fees. Mr. Inglesine, are you being paid to play on your phone right now? Because you're costing us a lot of money. When our basketball courts were literally closed down because they were unsafe, you wouldn't spend $1 for our kids. But because you have made poor decisions, unlawful decisions, you have spent now $950,000 of our money. And you did that how? Well, when you wanted to hire Mr. Inglesino, you didn't even show the rest of the council your proposed contract. And please tell me, because it's my understanding that for years this municipality has engaged in a pretty similar contract with all professional services. Specifically, it would have a 30-day cancellation rule, a number of terms that would protect our municipality. Why is it that for the first time in many, many years, this professional contract deviates from that? Please tell me, who wrote that contract? I guess it wasn't our township attorney. I don't think Mr. Yachafano. We don't have a BA. Who wrote it? Did Mr. Inglesino write his own contract? Because for some reason or another, it has terms in it that no other professional contract ever has. I talked about $325,000 last time. It's plus, plus, plus. There's no cap. There's no way for us to cancel it. So how dare you sit here and try to make any allegation that you care about our money? I'm not going to spend $1 without a plan because I care about the taxpayer money. You just spend $80,000 more of our money because you make poor decisions and you potentially break the law. Why don't you spend your own money if you believe so much in it? And how come when you were a councilman and we had Councilman Antonelli as president, just last year, sir, he had tried to appoint Adam Brewer as our BA. He brought in a search team. They did an evaluation. They vetted candidates. They gave all of you packages about 5 days before the vote. When the vote came up, you had all that information. And what did you say, Mr. Jedniak? You said, oh, this is too soon. I don't have enough information. Oh, wait, you want to pay our BA $160,000? That seems like a little bit too much. I've compared it with other salaries, including the governor, and why don't I have a contract? How come you're asking me to vote for this without a contract? How come now you don't do the exact things to assure that when our councilmen are asked to spend over $320,000, why wouldn't you give them the benefit of, number one, Antonelli would at least say, and on that date said, here's my proposal, here's who I'd like to hire. Council people, do you have any questions? You didn't even let anybody ask a question. You don't let them ask a question before you're asking them to spend $320,000? You don't even give them the contract to look at? And then you did the same thing tonight, 80,000 more, 400,000 in 1 week. You expect that everybody should make a decision like this without any information, and you shut them down with the gavel at the moment they tried to talk? This is my meeting, you said. How dare you? You don't even think you can roll your eyes? How dare you? Yeah, that's what I said. Because you think that everybody should spend our money. When you buy something that's $50,000, you don't read a contract? But when it's our money, Ms. Abramson, you gavelled anybody's attempt to ask a single question about that before the vote. I said it last time, I'll say it again, you're a disgrace. Even last year, this council wanted to put, when you weren't president, wanted to put an antenna on this building for police communications. You wouldn't vote on it. You said, I'm not going to vote on this. What is this going to cost? Antonelli said...
That's your 5 minutes has expired.
Again,
Thank you.
as is yours, sir.
Next on the list is Carol Lucas. Please state your name and address.
Carol Lucas, 37 Stony Brook Road. That's a tough act to follow, but I'll try and be quick. After last Friday's meeting, I began doing a little research and emailing all members of the board, as you all are probably sick of hearing from me. I have posted a lot of those emails to Facebook if anyone cares to read them. My feeling is that it's obvious the tension and the frustration with the people of Rockaway Township. Whether or not something is going to happen with people staying or leaving is going to take time. The bottom line is Rockaway Township taxpayers are paying the bills. So I beseech you all, work together to come to solutions that save Rockaway Township in their pockets and in their behavior, everybody, okay? I proposed, and people, I was called naive for proposing, maybe we should try to come to a deal to prevent the expected lawsuit that has since been filed. I received very little response. I did post a few responses that I got for people to read. I guess I was called naive, and maybe I am, but I would rather put the effort forth, and I believe that is your job. That is what you signed up for when you offered to serve Rockaway Township. So get together, get on the table. If from what I'm hearing is that people are in the council are not even talking to each other about documents that are being produced and contracts that are being formed, how can you consider this a functional entity? It's just not. Okay? So I propose to you tonight, please, come together. There's a lawsuit filed. Go out of your way. Find out what the issues are. My little bit of research is the biggest issue, and I don't mean to be blunt, and I hope you don't take offense, but it is Mr. Inglesino's hiring. The issue of whether or not Paul Manetta stays interim mayor or not, I don't think that's a big issue. I don't think anyone's going to file suit about that. That's going to be changed come November anyway. Okay? So the issue really is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the contract that was awarded to Mr. Inglesino. So my feeling is, as I put out there in my naive way, is let's come to some kind of a deal. If all of you really believe that you are representing what the people of Rockaway Township want, that they will elect a mayor that will do what the people of Rockaway Township want, then let's cut this lawsuit in the bud by coming to an agreement that allows that election to speak. Put some kind of a contract together that says, you know what? Let the mayor decide. Give him an out. Get rid of the contract that says, for Mr. Inglesino, that says he can only be released for cause. Let's make it automatic. It's up for review with the new mayor's appointment. Let him review it, save the town $80,000, and move forward in peace. Let the people speak. That's my one proposal. And just a few matters of general procedure. I requested, and I received no response about it, but as has been made clear, public meetings have been going on without the public interaction. Basically, this is basically a bitch session, pardon my language, but all the voting has already taken place. When I came to Friday's meeting, I was kind of shocked that why we're even here, because it's already done. So we're just basically coming here to scream at you, which can't be fun, you know? So why not let's get some semblance of democracy back and say, you know what, if there are issues to be discussed that we're doing for the benefit of this town, let's allow the town to have some input before we decide. So schedule an agenda that allows for public interaction and all council members to speak their piece before votes are taken. My last request is to please, there are many township residents who are not able to make it to meetings, but there's a whole lot more that, since what's been going on, really would like to, so let's please make an effort to get the minutes of all meetings posted in a timely manner. If we need to come up with a resolution, say, what is it, a fair time, if it's 2 weeks, whatever, come up with something and get the minutes posted for everyone to be able to read.
Ms. Lucas, you're 5
I am done.
expired. Thank you for your comments. Next on the list is State Order. Please state your name and address for the record. Mr. Waters.
My name is Jim Waters. I live at 48 Seneca Avenue in the township. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
I frankly don't know where to start. I'll start by thanking the last person who spoke. I would much rather be able to be naive in this position than having to work in the working world for over 50 years. I've never seen such a display of arrogance. Well, I'm not even going to go into the adjectives. We've been through all the adjectives: arrogance and self-dealing and not listening to people. I mentioned the working world because I should still be at work right now. Most people are working, except for the 5 of you who are either unemployed or independently wealthy. I just have a few comments that I took off the media the last couple of days. Sending a fire marshal to the Fox Hills apartment, to a private apartment, to complain about people meeting there? Seriously? January 2nd of this year at the reorganization meeting, part of the resolution that you passed was that township public notices will also be posted in the library. I've checked every time that you've had a meeting. I checked tonight. There's no public notice posted there. Resolutions written by an attorney again. It's nice that you now think that an attorney should review the resolutions that are posted here. How much did that cost, John? Our admin code that's posted online is woefully out of date. Some parts of it go back to 1972. 1972, we didn't have an internet. We didn't have the ability to send out public notices by electronic mail and hide behind the incorrect Oprah instructions that are in our township administrative code that conflict with the current requirements for 48 hours notice. I don't think it's too much to ask to bring the online code up to date so we don't have to bother Christina to drag out her corrected book. I'd like to see, I know that our admin code only requires that notice to the media be sent. Sue Best was nice enough to tell me it doesn't actually require that people have to be able to read it. It doesn't require it to be posted, they just have to send it. What I would like to see, and I may file an Oprah request on it, I would like to see proof that the media received these notices within the time frame required. You want to split hairs and find out how many angels can dance on the head of a pin? I think that we need some more answers here. I have watched videos recently of council members who are sitting on the council now, before they were on the council, objecting to the 5-minute rule and objecting to the requirement that they not address council people by name by addressing council people by name. I happen to support you on that, Ms. Abramson, and I would say that requiring me to address these gentlemen to complain about you is a violation of my First Amendment rights. I'd also, and this is probably the subject of another Oprah request, I'd like to know what was the cost of the security, the ridiculous security requested and provided at the last meeting. 20 to 30 peace officers from adjacent towns, Klieg lights, lighting up the whole parking lot. Do these people look like they're the people that are going to march on you and burn you at the stake? Unfortunately not. I watched an interview by an Erica Jedinak of the Americans for Prosperity. What I got from her presentation, which was very nice, a very well-spoken young lady, is that the AFP advocates for a free and open society, empowering communities, support...
Mr. Waters, your 5 minutes have expired. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Council President and others.
Next on the list is Allison Wood. Please state your name and address.
Hi. I wanted to thank the council for helping me get over my fear of speaking in public.
Ms. Weiner, if you would please state your name and address for the record.
I'm sorry. Allison Weiner. See, I'm afraid to get up. Allison Weiner, 21 Allen Drive, Rockaway. The things that have been taking place lately have prompted me to get up and talk. Regarding the meeting originally scheduled for yesterday, we all know that that never should have taken place. I understand that it was an oversight. However, one phone call or email, maybe two, letting the council know that it was a holiday should have been enough. It shouldn't have taken umpteen phone calls and emails, a visit from 3 rabbis, a call from Pastor Jack, and the community contacting the ADL and the AG's office. Your agenda should not take precedence over the wants and needs of the community. Now, back to what's going on right now. There's been a lot of talk about transparency, and I want to read to you something about transparency. Transparency includes the sharing of information with the public by default and not only upon request. Every contract awarded and every tax dollar spent in full detail should be on the web for residents to easily find. Transparency also includes open, honest, public discussions among the elected officials about our town's significant challenges, even when there might be a disagreement. Sounds pretty good, right?
I believe you're reading one of my messages.
I absolutely am. This is a quote from you, and at your first council meeting, January 5th, 2016, reorganization meeting. Now, I don't know about you, but I didn't see any open discussion last week from our elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next on the list is Emily Coleman, 316
Did you say me? I didn't hear you. Everybody's clapping. Did you say me?
Please state your name and address for the record.
Okay, thanks, Jeremy. Emily Coleman, 18 Lakeshore Drive. Go Lakeshore Drive. So I just wanted to let you guys know how I feel. So as I'm coming home and I'm driving on Route 80, heading west, and I get off at the exit and I'm coming around, I start to feel unsafe. And I start coming back around and I feel unsafe because Mike's not here anymore. And then I know that you are here running the show now and you make me feel unsafe. And I don't understand why, when we have such opposition and such loathing, honestly, of Mr. Inglesino, why does he sit in this room with us? Why do we have him here? You have not given us any great answers about that. I'm also trying to figure out the police officer situation because I feel like I love my town even more than I ever have, and I love everybody in this room, and I don't fear for these people in this room. I don't understand what kind of chaos and mayhem you are enjoying bringing to this town, because I think that you are loving the chaos, Jeremy. I really think you love it. We don't love it. We don't love it. Right, you guys? I have friends all over the state, and we are famous. And we are not famous for good things now. We are famous for this chaos, and we are famous for having an attorney that nobody wants. And that's the truth. And I don't understand how you guys can sit up there all the time and dismiss how we feel. And I don't feel better knowing that there's 10 police officers in the room right now. I would feel better if we had 1 police officer in the room. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for your time. You guys are the best.
Thank you for your comment. Public portion of the meeting is now closed. What is your name? Okay, the name is unintelligible. Thank you for identifying yourself. Please come up to the microphone, state your name and address.
Good evening. John P. Schmidt, Gloucester City, New Jersey, County of Camden. I wrote to you all at 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, September 15th, addressed to the presiding officer of your September 14th meeting, Ms. Abrahamson, as well as all the members of council, regarding some serious concerns I had about your meeting and its nonconformance with the Open Public Meetings Act. I'd rather not file a lawsuit. I don't think that really does the public any good. So I came here to have a discussion, hopefully, to see if we can avert it. I did hear a response from one council member, and I thank that member of council for their response. I'm assuming that you have read my email and that you're familiar with the 48-hour notice rule under the Open Public Meetings Act. And in determining what that means, one looks to the case law and to the statutory intent of the law. Now, the statutory intent of OPMA is to increase public participation. The precedent case that governs goes back to 1980, in Warts v. Mayor and Council of Upper Township, where the court held that when a public body sends meeting notices to newspapers for publication, and to the actual or readily ascertainable knowledge of that public body, those newspapers cannot publish the notice at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. There is no compliance with OPMA. If the opposite were true, the purposes of the law could have easily be circumvented. The court stated that NJSA :4-8D provides that public bodies must designate newspapers for the publication of notices which have the greatest likelihood of informing the public within the area of jurisdiction of the public body of such meetings. The court went on to say it is expected that all reasonable effort to notify the public will be made. Following Warts in 1997, there was a case, Lakewood Citizens for Integrity and Government Incorporated versus Lakewood Township Committee, where they had noticed newspapers on a Friday for a Monday meeting. Only one could have published 48 hours in advance. And in turning to Warts, the court held that the meeting was defective. The court also noted that the Warts decision has apparent appellate approval in Township of Bernards v. State Department of Community Affairs. Now, what's different between the Township of Rockaway and Upper Township and Lakewood is that the Lakewood and the Upper Township governing bodies actually did notice one paper that could publish. You didn't notice any newspapers that could publish. When you noticed at 10:02 at night, you got automated responses from the papers. Their office hours are 8:30 to 5. No one's there. They had no way to publish it. The soonest they could practically do it was Friday. Now, if someone was there, the soonest they could publish was Thursday, which would have been the day before the meeting. They had no ability to publish the meeting 48 hours in advance. They don't have to publish it, but you have to notice paper that has the ability to publish it. That's what the case law says. So my question to the council is, will you redo last week's meeting? And I would like an answer from every single member of the council.
Mr. Schmidt, you have 2 minutes left on your time.
I have 2 minutes left. Wow, that was pretty quick.
Oh, you have 1 minute left on your time.
So is anyone going to answer? Well, after this public comment, when the council gives the report, I think each council person, because I'm a public official myself, different office, but we all take that same oath. It all says the same thing, okay? To uphold the laws and the Constitution of this state and the laws of the United States. It's a statutory law. Additionally, as a point of order, not a point of order, but of best practices, whether someone is in office legally or illegally, if somebody is acting as a professional, I think this council, every elected official to say, if you work for the township, you're here at a meeting, you need to pay attention. Cell phones off the dais is in your pockets. Yes, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your comment. We are now.
Another attorney. Jeremy wants to answer. Let him answer.
Tucker, Council President.
If I may, we are now closed to the public. You may take your seat. Order.
Coward!
Okay, sir, if you would please have a seat. So, if you speak out again, you'll be removed.
By you?
Thank you. Thank you for. Please remove him. Please remove him as well. Please have a seat, sir.
Let's go, John.
Okay.
You know what? I think we have absolutely no confidence in any of those idiots.
With regard to.
They leave us, we're leaving you. See you later.
If anyone else would like to leave, we'll take a moment.
We can let you go.
No? Okay. Mr. Mayor, with regard to the police presence, would you like, Mr. Mayor Menena, would you like to describe how the police presence is ascertained for a council meeting?
Let me say, first of all, thank you for coming tonight. I'm very appreciative of the fact that people actually could make it at this time. No, I'm retired. Okay? Well,
Mr. Waters, if you speak out once again, you'll be removed.
It's okay, Council President.
All right, please remove Mr. Waters.
No, I'm
Mayor, don't do that.
We will pause.
Regarding the question...
Mayor Menino, if you would please pause for a moment while Mr. Waters is removed.
As I started to say before, you'll notice that there's a much lower number of police officers here tonight. Okay? I know you can count, and there's nobody outside because that is a different program that the police departments across Morris County use. It's called McReds. There is no cost to the township when a McReds is called out. And the reason for that is fairly simple. Imagine a situation where you had 100 people in a street fight. You could easily overwhelm any police department in Morris County. And so the McReds program is established by the police departments for mutual aid. And they were called out and they sent officers who were outside while we had our police officers who are town residents for the most part here on Friday night at the meeting. So please understand there was no cost to the township for the police officers outside the McReds program, other than maybe, you know, if it had been earlier, it might have been pizza and some soda. So, you know, looking at Facebook, there's a lot of information out there. Much of it may not be necessarily true. And you can laugh, but the reality is I have no vested interest in lying on Facebook. I'm telling you what I know to be the facts, and I'm here to do what I was elected to do by this council, and I'm going to do my best until November 6th when I will relinquish control to the victor in the election once it's certified. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Inglesino, you had a comment?
No, Mr. Councilman.
Okay. With regard to the comments that were made to legal services, our CFO provided everyone here on the council, and by the way, with regard to any documentation, contracts, etc., those are all public records. They can be obtained from Town Hall. But with regard to legal services, the CFO provided everyone here on the council, well in advance of the meeting, a printout of the amounts expended on legal services for this year. You heard a number that was referenced. That number was incorrect by that member of the public, which is the number that is here is that the original amount budgeted for the year by the council for the year for all legal services was $380,000. As a result of the litigation that took place that this council did not choose to be engaged in, an emergency appropriation was passed at a meeting at the suggestion of the administration as well as the township's auditor. The CFO and the business administrator were the ones who drafted that resolution with the auditor and requested it be placed on the agenda, adding an additional appropriation of $475. The total of $380 and $475 of that amount, which is I'm going to say over 800, has an amount of 100 remaining in it. So, and that information is easily obtained from the town as well during regular business hours. So that answers that question. Conduct of business behind closed doors. This is a council. This is a governing body. The governing body acts by taking votes. There is no physical way for this governing body to take a vote behind a closed door and have it have any effect whatsoever. Right? All the votes have to happen here in public at a meeting, whether that's a regular meeting, a special meeting, or an emergency meeting. I think the reasons for the special meeting have been well described previously. And when we set the agenda, which I mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, that with regards to the regular meeting schedule, I reviewed with Councilman Sackett to make sure that we didn't fall on religious holidays for our regular meetings. That is the regular meeting scheduled for the entire calendar year. If there's any deviation from that, the council has only two other options: special meetings, which have the 48-hour notice requirement, and emergency meetings, which we've yet to have an emergency meeting. I don't think there's been one in the 5+ years that I've been sitting here. So that is how. So if you can't have a regular meeting, and the reasons for the meeting don't rise to what the statute requires for an emergency, the other option is a special meeting with regard to notice. Mr. Inglesino, would you like to make a comment with regards to 48-hour notice?
The only comment that I would make is that the statute was followed. Of course, you know, that matter is now the subject of litigation, and the town has special counsel for that, so I don't think it's appropriate to comment on matters that are in litigation.
Okay. With regard to the statement that was read by the previous mayor, which quoted saying that the Sergeant-at-Arms designation did not previously exist and does not exist anywhere else. Simple Google search of other towns will yield other towns that have the same ordinance in their code, including our neighbors, Denville, which immediately comes to my mind. So you'll find the Sergeant-at-Arms designation there. In our township code, that has existed since 1971. It has always been there. With regard to the comment that our administrative code, and you can check that, the township code is online, Chapter 2, Administrative Code, search for decorum, you'll find reference below that in 1971. With regard to our administrative code and other code being outdated, I 100% agree. It's one of the things that I hope that our new mayor and a future mayor will also address. We have significant code issues. Many of the issues that we tried to address earlier this year, or points of contention, had to do with the code not adhering to state statute, being contrary to state statute. Those are easy opportunities to correct some things so that some of the differences and disagreements that have taken place previously don't ever have to take place again. And I hope that this mayor and a future mayor will take those up as challenges, both on the administrative side as well as on the land use side. Those of you who are here for a presentation by a landowner or prospective landowner with regard to a vision that they had for a property was prefaced, and that conversation was prefaced, and the discussion that took place was that while that project may or may not be the right project for this town, that's a decision for perhaps the planning board or zoning board to decide at a later date, this township can't even entertain that project because the land use code doesn't allow it. And there's a significant effort that has to happen between the township administration as well as the council to clean up this very outdated code. 1971. It's older than I am. It's older than Councilman Sackett as well. That code needs to be revisited because the laws have changed. The state statutes have changed, and we have provisions in our code that don't follow, that aren't in compliance with state statute. And that creates opportunities for issues to arise. And again, I hope that this mayor and a future one will also work with us to address those. I'm not aware of any fire marshal complaint that was filed. I would ask the current mayor if he would please investigate the nature of that. My understanding is that the fire marshal is not here today because he is on a vacation trip elsewhere.
Excuse me, Council President.
Mr. Mayor.
The person that raised that question, if you'd see me at the end of the meeting, I'd like a little bit more information. Who was it? Okay, thank you. I'll get in touch with him.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Kelly, did you have some comments you wanted to make?
I didn't. I just wanted to address Mr. Schmidt.
Just pull the microphone to you.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to address Mr. Schmidt. I did receive your email in the early morning, not as when you had sent it out. Not when you had sent it out. I think we have some common interest in certain things with NJ Fogg and OPMA and Oprah as well. But because of those concerns of the possibility of threatening litigation, pending litigation, it's very difficult to have a conversation not knowing what's going on at that moment. So that is why that I didn't reach out back to you regarding that. So I apologize for that, but I hope you understand. I mean, you do work in a law firm as well as Mr. Long, and you're down in Gloucester County there. So I knew what the question was and related to, and I hope you can respect why there wasn't an answer to you because of the pending or possible litigation that was going on due to the threats. You wouldn't know that because you didn't attend the meeting at that evening, but those were threats that were made at that particular time, and I did take those threats seriously that was going to occur. So that is a reason for that. I hope you understand that. Of litigation.
Yes, we've had multiple threats of litigation over the past 2 weeks and beyond. Just to clarify the number that I was trying to total earlier in my head, the total amount spent by the township on legal services this year is $755,000. Just so everybody has the correct number, you can verify that by requesting that information from the CFO in the administrator's office. I will now make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second? Second by Abrahamson. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Fuzio?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, meeting adjourned.
Nice, Jeremy.